Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today and welcome to this educational presentation of the path to consistency starts with this strategy. Now I know everyone basically is looking for the holy grail. I know I was when I first started trading, but what trading success is really about is consistency. Another way to say that is longevity in trading, because consistency in trading is a two-step forward, one-step back process. And I think most websites or educators think that what they're doing is teaching you consistency, but it's been my experience that they're really teaching you more of a gambling mindset, looking for that big home run, that big, successful one-time trade where you can, hopefully retire on. But that really is really non-existent, or that happens very rarely. Now, consistency is actually having three things. It's having a trading method that generates lots of signals. Then it's having some type of filter to pick the best of those signals that have been generated. And then lastly, it must be extremely simple to apply, because even if you have something that is able to follow the first two rules, if you can't really and simply apply it, then it's not worth it. There's no way you'll be able to do it. Let me give you a brief example on a current chart here. Let's look at MAN. Now I know a lot of people would say this is what consistency means. So let's start out by looking at what most traders think consistency is. They'll look at this chart and say, well, Steve, we have resistance here and we have support here. Now, what a lot of websites I've gone to and the $10,000 class I took said is to basically stay away from this range, because when we break out, that's the only time you should be interested in buying it. Or if we break down, then you should think about selling it. Now, you can try to buy the bottoms and tops, but it's very risky, because many times if you sell a top, maybe it'll break out, or you buy a bottom, it'll break down. So better to just stay away from this. This is what most traders think consistent trading is. Well, take it from someone who traded this way 40 years ago. This is probably the least consistent way of trading I have ever traded. Support and resistance, or looking at what the institutions are doing, or volume. It just really doesn't really hold any ground in terms of consistency. So let me share with you what my mentors taught me some 4 decades ago that has really added to my consistency. They presented a trading method to me, this strategy which I'm going to be talking about today, which actually generated a lot of signals, as you can see. Where someone else was saying, well, you're in a range, this strategy was actually generating signals. Now you can see some of these signals are better than others. For example, this buy signal actually wouldn't have profited very well, and you would have lost a lot of money. Now this one, these two at the bottom right here, would have done well for a week or two, and then look what happened. They would have come down and you would have given it all back. The only ones that would have done well are this one here. Well, we don't even know yet because we don't know where it's going. So most likely this signal right here, okay? So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is how you could have weeded out all of those other signals and just focused on this one circled in blue, and then potentially in the following days been able to capture upwards of 18 points. This is what consistency is. And the last part of that 3-part plan is that consistency is very simple to apply, very simple to apply to your actual trading style. And the only way I know of how to really learn and apply it simply is with our PTS Primo charting platform. I designed this with Pro Trader Strategies with one goal in mind, and that was to design an educational platform that makes trading simple. So you'll see with all the examples today, they're all using our platform, and we're going to show you how simple it is to apply this process. So as you can see, this is going to be a really great presentation today, a really great educational presentation. So welcome once again. My name is Stephen Primo, President and Founder of Specialist Trading. If you're new to my webinars, I give weekly webinars, free classes every week. We have only one mission, one goal, and that's to educate traders. We're different from other websites and presentations you may have gone to in the past, where we're not trying to force feed you signals and tell you you have to buy this or have to sell this or this is the perfect time frame. In fact, we don't believe in that, because it's been my experience that those are recipes for a disaster. It's my experience in my 4 decades of trading that the only way one becomes consistent is by making their own trading decisions. Now, I learned this trading on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor a total of 16 years, and out of those years I was a specialist. That's where we get the name specialist trading. A specialist is someone who made markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So I made markets in the crash of '87 and the bull market that followed. So I've seen and traded just about everything you can imagine. Most likely it's just been rebranded or renamed, but it's been around for a long time. And I've traded just about every environment, straight up, straight down, sideways markets. So I know what works in terms of consistency and I know what doesn't. So that's what, when I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies about 10 years ago, that's what we had in mind, simply to fill that gap that is in traders where they're relying on someone to tell them what to do. Well, we have the information so that you can make your own trading decisions. You'll see how simple that is in today's presentation. But before we begin, as always, we are always required by law to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this technique of applying our strategy along with a process to filter out the best and the weakest trades. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And also please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, as you're taking a brief moment to view our disclaimer, speaking about education, we have a lot of free education on our Twitter page every day. So feel free to follow us on Twitter if you haven't done so already. I post educational things anywhere from signals our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom. Lots of great free education, so feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, once again, we are different from other companies in that we don't claim to have a method or system that will enable you to retire in 6 months. In fact, if anyone tells you that, I would run, because that's just, doesn't exist. What you're looking for in terms of success is longevity. That's what makes you a successful trader. And longevity is just another way of being consistent. A two-step forward, one-step back approach. This was the same process that was taught to me and that has enabled me to become consistent and to be still trading here after 4 decades. So hopefully you'll be able to do the same for you. So as you can see, my goal is not to force feed you signals. In fact, prior to this presentation, I was answering emails where someone asked me what the best strategy is. That's not my job to find out what the best strategy is. That's your job. My goal is to provide you with information and with detailed, consistent methods so that you can decide for yourself. You see, we're all programmed to have someone tell us what the best method is, what the best time frame is, what the best stock or future is to trade. And that's silly. You should be deciding that for yourself. And the only way you can do that is that once you have the education and feel confident enough to make those decisions, okay? Now, since this is going to be a class today, I want you to ask as many questions as possible, but please wait till the end of the presentation to ask questions. That way we won't be bogged down with every slide. Many times if you wait for the next slide, your question will be answered. The only question I will answer right now is the most common, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you have to leave early or if you have any technical issues, don't worry. We will send each and every one of you a link to this recording, okay? So once again, if you came late, we have a good crowd here today. Please wait till the end of class to ask questions, roughly in about the next 45 minutes, okay? All right, with that stated, let's begin. Now, we're talking about consistency today. We're talking about getting on that path. The first thing you need is a strategy that really has a great background in being consistent, and that is strategy number 4. The first strategy I was taught by my mentors and that I continue to use in some capacity today in my own personal trading. Now, some of the highlights of this particular method: it's designed for traders looking to catch momentum. So it's based on a certain pattern. As you can see here, it's a pattern recognition strategy that is designed to capture or look to catch quick momentum. Now, you can use it intraday trading, you can use it for investing, you can use it for futures, you can use it for Bitcoin. It makes no difference what market or time frame. That's the beauty of strategy number 4. And also its simplicity. It only uses one indicator. So it's a really great strategy, generates a lot of signals, probably more than any strategy I teach or that we have at Pro Trader Strategies and Specialist Trading. Strategy 4 will generate the most signals out of any method we have. So let's look at some examples of strategy number 4. Now, as you can see here in QCOM, this is coming into just about a month ago, mid-April. Once again, someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, there's nothing to tell here. We're kind of steadily going higher, but this is pretty much a dead market. It's just kind of going sideways. I really wouldn't do anything with this market. Well, according to strategy number 4, though, if you click on our strategy tab, it actually would have given you the option to produce the signal arrows, and it would have generated 3 buy setups right here. Now, once again, in our educational courses, we teach you what to look for. So this is not a black box type method where all you have to do is simply click on signal arrows. In fact, we don't believe in that. These are for educational purposes so you can check your work. But it's as simple as doing that. So most likely after a couple of weeks of the course, you would have been able to identify these setups on your own. But just to check your work, click on strategy 4 and you would see that you are right. You had 3 buy signals generated here. Now some of these were better than others. And ultimately though, you see the stock went up 35 points coming into May this month. Here's another setup in Tesla. Now we all know that Tesla has been acting poorly. It's had these fits and starts. It looks like it has these false bottoms. It bounces and rallies for a few weeks and then goes lower, makes lower lows. How could we have taken advantage of this? Well, once again, in our course, we teach you how to properly identify a strategy number 4 setup. But just to check your work, we want you to click on the strategy number 4 tab in our platform, click on signal arrows, and you'll see all the arrows that were generated. Now, had you taken the very first signal, you would have potentially been able to capture 130 points coming into this month of May. Do you see how well this strategy can generate signals? Now, it's extremely consistent, generates a lot of signals, but now let's go back to that first slide we talked about in MAN. Now, sure, ultimately, the stock went higher, but remember, had you purchased here, I don't think you would have sat and waited through this sell-off and then through another bounce and then another sell-off for that nice 18-point gain. Remember, we said that a consistent method generates a lot of signals like you're seeing, but it also filters out the best. And as we can see right here, this is the one we should have taken. This had the highest potential for consistency, an 18-point potential grab. So how could we have done that? Well, let me share with you the second part of this plan. Here's a consistency tip. Some of the most consistent setup signals, these are the setups in strategy number 4, may be generated closest to or touching the fluid buy-sell line. Okay, now I know you're probably saying, all right, great, what's the fluid buy-sell line? How much is that going to cost me? Don't worry, that comes included on the platform. All right, all you have to do is click on the buy-sell line. We have 4 different options for viewing the buy-sell line. What you want to do once the drop-down menu occurs is to simply click on fluid down here. Once you do that, the screen automatically changes to this. This is the fluid buy-sell line, meaning that the buy zone where you want to look for buy signals is when the screen is colored blue. Anything below this in the red-orange zone is the sell zone. Now what we're looking for are signals, regardless of buys or sells, that are generated closest to or touching this buy-sell line. Now as you can see, these signals weren't close or touching, so we weren't concerned with them. But look at this one. It's actually intersecting the buy-sell line. That's the one you should have taken. You could have ignored all these and potentially captured 18 points in the following days. You see how simple this is? It's extremely simple. So it follows that 3-part process. You have a trading method that generates a lot of signals. The second part is that you filter out a lot of these signals by trying to pick the most consistent ones. And those are the ones with the fluid buy-sell line. And then 3, being able to apply it simply and easily. And that's where the platform comes into play. It's just one click away. All this is one-click access. Let's show you how you could have taken advantage of this process with Tesla. Remember, there was a lot of signals generated here. Sure, most likely all of them would have been profitable, but how could we have gotten the most potentially successful one? Well, we click on, see, as we can see right here, this would be the most potentially successful one, this one right at the top, right back here in January. Well, we click on the buy-sell line. When the drop-down menu appears, we want to choose fluid, all right? Once we click on fluid, the screen will automatically change. Now, if price is in the blue buy zone, then we're looking for buy setups. But if price is in the red zone, well, then we're looking for sell setups. As you can see, a lot of these setups were generated in the red sell zone. But look right here. This was the only one that was actually touching or intersecting. So this would have been the one you would have taken and potentially could have captured 130 points if you held it onto May. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, okay, this is great, Steve, but you said I could make 133 points or 130 points? Potentially. Now, remember, as I stated in the opening statements, you are in charge of your trading. That's our goal, to educate you so that you can make your decisions. So in our courses, we provide you with 7 different ways of entering, 6 or 7 different stop placements, and 6 or 7 different ways to exit. So you can choose whichever one of those that makes you feel the most comfortable. Remember, this is our mission to make you in charge. We're not here to tell you, to simply give you a signal every night and say, buy this or sell this. I mean, that's what the whole entire industry is based on, and that's why 80 to 85% of all traders fail, because you've just, without knowing it, taken yourself out of the game. That's a recipe for disaster. You have to be involved in the decision-making process. Pro Trader Strategies and myself designed the platform and our strategies to make them simple for you to apply and so that you can decide for yourself. All right, so let's look at some more examples using this simple three-part process. Now remember, the process is you want a strategy that generates a lot of signals. Secondly, you want to apply the fluid buy-sell line and see and take the signals. It's your choice. You don't have to, but you have the most consistency in the ones that are actually touching or intersecting or closest to the buy-sell line, the fluid buy-sell line. And then lastly, you want to be able to apply it simply and easily. And that's where the platform comes into play. All right, let's look at STNA. All right, now strategy number 4 has generated 1, 2, 3 signals. Obviously, this would be the most opportune one to take, or these two right here. How could we have done that? Well, looking back in hindsight, all you would have had to have done is use the fluid buy-sell line, and you see that this one signal was not touching, but very close to the fluid buy-sell line. So that would have been the one you wanted to take, and potentially could have captured 23 points in March and April. How about WBA? Okay, lots of great sell signals here. The beginning ones would have worked out great, but later on, as we got into the sell-off, we see that these weren't generated a lot. The market's starting to dry up and go sideways, so this would have been the most opportune one to take, right up here at the very top. How could we have taken advantage of that? Well, once again, apply the fluid buy-sell line, and we see that not only did this one intersect the fluid buy-sell line, but the next one did as well. So you could have taken any one of those first two setups and potentially captured 20 points to the downside coming into this last week in May. How about HCA? Well, we have some buy signals and we have some sell signals. This is the beauty of strategy number 4, because once it calculates that the trend has changed, it starts to generate signals going the opposite direction. Now, all of these signals worked out well, but looking at the buy setups, this would have been the most opportune place to go long right here. And then looking at the sell setups, probably up here would have been the most opportune place to go short at the top. So how could we have done that? Well, we click on the buy-sell line, the fluid buy-sell line, and we see that these first two setups were intersecting or touching the fluid buy-sell line. So we would have taken this. We would have bypassed this one because it's so far away. And even though it still would have made money, this would have been the most opportune one to be a consistent trader. And you had potentially 12 points to the upside to capture. Now, all of a sudden, the trend changed, and we start to generate sell signals. Well, look at this. This setup was the first one that actually touched or intersected the fluid buy-sell line. Had you taken that, potentially captured 25 points coming into the middle to end of April to the downside. And even if you missed that, you had another area right here where potentially it's up to you. If you thought this was close enough, you could have taken that sell signal as well. So you see how simple this process is. You got a lot of signals generated. You use a filter in the fluid buy-sell line to tell you what the best or most opportune ones are. And then you make it simple by applying the platform. Let's look at OAK. All right, now this is what we mean by consistency. Remember, I didn't say in the beginning that this method is going to have you retire in 6 months. In fact, I said the opposite. I said you should run from anyone who says that, because we're looking for longevity. That's what real success is. Success is not hitting a home run. I know tons of traders on the floor who hit home runs and made close to $1 million in a relatively short time. And then they gave it all back. They're not trading anymore. So that's not in any way something to be proud of or some type of master system. That was just basically similar to hitting the jackpot on the slot machines. Anyone can do that with a little luck. What you really want is to be able to trade 20, 30, 40 years down the road. And that's what consistency is. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The 1 step back means that you're aware you will have losses occasionally, which is perfectly okay. You just want to be able to recoup those losses sooner than later. For example, in OAK here, we see here that in January, a sell signal was generated right on the fluid buy-sell line, and it didn't work out very well. Had you stayed in this and then reversed when the buy signals were generated, you would have lost 3 points. But look what happened here. We had a buy signal that was touching the fluid buy-sell line. So you would have taken that one or this one, and potentially captured 8 points coming into March or April. So you would have recouped that loss and potentially made more, depending on how long you would have stayed in the trade. Another example here, this was in UTHR. This was just last month, coming into this month of May. We had a buy signal that was touching the fluid buy-sell line. It worked out well for one day, and then look what happened. The very next day after that, a sell signal was generated. So you should stop and reverse. You would have lost 5 points being on the first trade, and look what happened. Since this was touching the buy-sell line, had you taken that, you could have recouped the 5 points and potentially captured 20 more points, or a total of 25 points altogether. This is what we mean by consistency. 1 step back, 2 steps forward. How about GM? Okay, this is an older chart in February. As you can see, potentially you could have captured 68 points. How could you have done that? Well, look at these two signals. Here we're touching the buy-sell line. Another one we're touching the buy-sell line. Now these still would have been profitable. This is what we mean by, the strategy number 4, generating a lot of signals. It doesn't mean that all of them don't work, but the point is, wouldn't you have rather gotten in down here as opposed to up here? BIDU, this is just this last month. Price was in the buyer's bias of the buy-sell zone, and then we started to touch and oscillate right here on the buy-sell line in end of April, beginning of May. Now a sell signal was generated, and it's touching the buy-sell line. Had you taken that, potentially 50 points to the downside coming into this last week. Okay, this is, we're not cherry picking things that happened 2 years ago. This just happened in the last week. How about EL? Okay, now this is a long-term chart. Look at how back these buy signals have been generated. Okay, now obviously you can't take each and every buy signal. Even if you're taking options or if you're buying calls, you can't take each and every one of these, and some of these are better than others. This one lasted for about 3 or 4 days, then quickly went down. Let's pinpoint the best ones according to this process. There would have been here, touching the buy-sell line, another one here, right, close to the buy-sell line, and then 2 more back here, touching the buy-sell line again. So potentially, had you taken this very first one, we're talking about 70 points to the upside. Not a bad trade. OC, this is once again a downward trade. As we look in hindsight, someone looking in hindsight would say, well, yeah, Steve, sure, I shouldn't have bought this because it's just kind of stair-step going lower. But how would I have known that? Well, if you know the process behind strategy number 4, you know that it was generating sell signals. And to check your work, all you have to do is click on strategy number 4, click on signal arrows, and click on fluid buy-sell line, and you can see which ones you should have taken. Now, these are all the sell signals. And once again, you should know how to identify these on your own. You don't need the downward arrow, the downward menu to click on the arrows to find out. You should know this. We're an educational company first. Our whole goal is to teach you how to spot these whenever you'd like to. But for added recognition to check your work, then you would click on the signal arrows. I see a lot of these, and some were better than others. This one would have not been good. These 2 would have been fine. These 3 would not have done very well. But what do we have here? We have a sell signal that's touching the buy-sell line, and we have another one that's very close to us. So had you taken these 2, well, potentially 17 points. And see, the beauty of this many times is that after you get into these setups, not guaranteed, but many times, you don't have to wait around to see that something happens. For example, had you taken this sell setup, well, you had to wait maybe 2-3 weeks before it really fell out of bed. But oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, if you take these high probability setups, you'll see a very quick, return in the next few days. Here's another example, an FFIV. Sell signal not touching, but extremely close to the buy-sell line, 18 quick points to the downside. Now, not everyone trades daily bars. Let's look at some different time frames, just in case you want to trade a different time frame, a different direction. Here is a weekly chart of MO. Once again, lots of different sell signals generated, some better than others. These 2 were very nice. This one was not very good. But what do we have here? We have a sell signal penetrating the fluid buy-sell line, and we have another one. So we have a total of 2. Each one of these would have generated a gain, ultimately. 18 points potentially you could have captured to the downside. Now that's on a weekly chart. What if you're a day trader? What if you like to intraday trade stocks? Okay, well, here is a chart, a 1-hour chart of Facebook. Okay, strategy number 4 generated 3 buy signals. Now the first 2 didn't work out very well. Had you bought this, look what happened. You would have lost money. Had you bought this one, you would have lost money. But look at the third one. it's touching the fluid buy-sell line. So that's the high probability one to take. You take that trade, 7 quick points in the next day. Okay, remember this is on an hourly chart of Facebook. So let's recap before I tell you about a great offer in which you can put yourself in the driver's seat using this simple process. But let's recap first. Remember, it's a simple process. First thing you want to do after you learn how to properly identify strategy number 4 setups is to click on the signal arrows. That will verify that you have properly identified a valid setup. Okay, remember, it's there for educational purposes only. Next, click on the buy-sell line. The buy-sell line tells you whether you should be a buyer or whether you should be a seller. Okay, you can apply this for any strategy or any method you're trading. Remember, the buy-sell line is just a way in which to tell you which bias you should have, a buyer's bias or a seller's bias. But one of the beauties of the buy-sell line is we have different features, different ways to apply it. One of the best is by clicking on the fluid feature. We have found through our own research and also through testimonials from students around the world in over 115 countries in every state of the United States that setups closest to or touching the fluid buy-sell line feature often generate the highest potential for a consistent setup. So click on the fluid feature and then choose those signals that are closest to or touching the fluid buy-sell line. Now, I know this seems like a lot of work. You say, well, okay, well, I don't know how to do this. I have straight TradeStation or I have a Metastock. I don't know how to apply I don't get the fluid buy-sell line or I don't have those arrows. Well, remember, it's all made simple and easy on the PTS Primo charting platform. Everything is one click away. Easy access. All right, so let me tell you about today's special attendee discount and great offer we have for you today before we go into questions and answers. All right, we're going to offer you strategy number 4, all right? This is our most consistent pattern method of all the strategies we have. We have upwards of 9, close to 10 different strategies. We're going to give you all the entries, exits, and stops. Remember, that's a total of 21 roughly different ways in which to enter, exit, and place your stops, okay? You're going to get the complete strategy rules. You can trade it aggressively or conservatively. You're going to learn all the entries, exits, and stops. Remember, we shared with you this process basically just looking at stocks today. But I use the same process when I intraday trade E-mini futures. So it really makes no difference. You can apply it to currency pairs. We have a lot of currency pair traders that use this process. We have Bitcoin traders, commodity traders, and it really makes it simple regardless of market, regardless of time frame, and regardless of direction. Now, strategy number 1 course usually runs $6.95, okay, for the complete course. Don't worry, we're not going to charge you that today. In fact, we're going to actually give you another strategy. We're going to throw in strategy 3A. This is our premier continuation method. This is entirely different from strategy 4, entirely different rules. It's not based on catching momentum based on a pattern the way strategy number 4 is. It uses a proprietary Bollinger Band setting. And what we're usually applying this is for runaway markets. Now, how many times have you seen a runaway market? Either you're trading intraday or even daily or weekly bars, and you feel like, I can't buy this now. It's gone up too quickly, too fast, and it's too high now, or I can't sell this now. It's gone down too much. I would be selling at the bottom if I wanted to go short. Well, this is what strategy number 3A is designed to do, to capture those continuation trades when there's still some room for it to go higher or lower. Let me give an example here. Here's an example in TRIP, and here is our proprietary Bollinger Band setting that we teach you in the course. Now, this stock started taking off, started going higher. A lot of traders would have said, well, you know what, we're kind of overbought here. I'll wait for it to pull back, like strategy number 4 made. Well, strategy number 3A will discern whether this has more room to go. And it actually generated a buy signal here, and potentially in the next week, you could have captured 16 points. And it works to the downside as well. Here's an example in WIN. As you can see, using the proprietary Bollinger Band setting, the stock was really headed lower, where most people would have said, I'm going to wait for it to settle down. Maybe I'll sell as it bounces. Well, strategy 3A determined that this was not going to have a bounce, and it generated a sell signal and 32 points in the next month. So we're going to throw in that as well. Now, that usually costs $6.95 as well. We're going to give you that with no charge included. But we're not stopping there. We're going to also throw in the PTS Primo charting platform. This is the educational portal that makes trading simple. Remember, everything is one click away. On the platform, you're going to get strategy number 4, all the easy clicking access to it. You're going to get strategy 3A, same thing, where you'll be able to click on and get the strategy arrows. You're going to get our enhanced buy sell line features. So you won't have to figure out how to use that on Metastock or on TradeStation. You can actually use it on the platform and just click on Fluid feature and it'll be there in seconds. We have a special tool we designed with Pro Trader Strategies called our Strength of Trend tool, a great proprietary tool that we have. You'll be able to use that as well. It tells you if there's more room in the trend or if the trend is still building. And we have over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators you can use and choose from. And we also have free Bloomberg TV. We're not just technical, we also have information. If you're a fundamental trader, you can see live TV as you're looking at the charts, and you can get fundamental reports as they're happening. And lastly, this comes with great personalized tech support. Now, we also have extra bonuses included. We're not stopping. Let me tell you about some of these great bonuses. All right, bonus number 1. If you want to continue to use your platform, such as TradeStation, MT4, Sierra Charts, Metastock, NinjaTrader, or even our platform, we'll give you the add-ons for free. Now that's an $1,800 or close to $1,900 value. That's included in the bonus. We're also including bonus number 2, which is our Secrets of a Stock Specialist course. This was a 3-hour video seminar. Years ago, I was asked to speak in Denver, and they recorded the entire presentation where I gave out a lot of my different techniques and tips on how to trade. We're including this. This is a nearly $1,000 value. Also, everyone will get a PDF version of my book. This is where I go into detail on what it was like to trade during the crash of 1987. All right? That's a $49 value. 6 months of our PTS Primo charting platform included, as we talked about earlier. That's close to $900 value. Secrets 2.0 course. This is where we're taking our techniques and methods up to the next level for the more advanced trader. That's close to $1,000 value. All right? Lastly, I think these are two of the highlighted bonuses we have included here. You're going to get our strategy scanner that you'll be able to identify individual setups, and you'll get our multi-scanner where you can scan for 2 strategies, multiple techniques at the same time. So you can combine a lot of different things to get your setups for the next day. Now, let me just talk about that. Let's look at bonus number 6 here, because we're not going to charge you anything for all of these great bonuses here. But let's talk about the strategy scanners. Let me show you how simple the process is on our platform, because remember, we designed this to make it simple. Once you are looking at a chart, all you have to do is click on the strategy scanner page. That's in the drop-down menu of whatever strategy you're looking at, and you'll get this page right here, okay? This is particular strategy number 4. All right, you click on Load Signals, and we provide you with a list. A little page will appear, a little window where you can get the DAX, you can get the Bitcoin data, you can get the S&P, NASDAQ, ETFs, currency pairs, futures, whatever market you're interested in. You will instantly pick that, and you'll see a little spreadsheet of the data of the symbol list, okay? Now, once that appears in about 10 or 20 seconds, you just click on Scan. And in another 30 seconds, you'll see a series of green and red horizontal bars. The green bars mean that that's a buy signal in the corresponding stock. The red ones mean you have a sell signal. It's that simple. You don't have to go searching and figure out how to format and how to plot a particular strategy and then figure out how to get the scans and then go through the whole process. I've done that before on different platforms, which I won't mention, and it's literally taken me hours to figure out how to scan for a simple strategy. This process takes less than a minute to do, and then you'll have a complete list of all the setups for the next day. Now, I know a lot of you are always thinking that news comes into play. Let me show you how a news event happened recently and how the scanner could have helped you prior to the news. Now, Yahoo Finance reported that Chevron wanted to acquire major Houston area upstream company, that was APC, for $33 billion. Okay, so this information was announced on April 12th, just about a month ago. Now, a lot of traders would see that on the chart and they say, boy, I'm not going to buy this now. Gosh, I always miss these things. How come I'm never involved in a stock before it gets bought out? I always hear somebody else gets involved in that. Now, had you chosen or not to purchase this, well, even if you had, it may have seemed a little late after the offer came in, it still decided to go up higher. But here's how our strategies and our methods oftentimes, not guaranteed, but oftentimes can give you clues prior to a news announcement. And oftentimes you'll be on the right side. For example, Strategy number 4 generated a buy signal a full week before that news came out, when the stock was doing absolutely nothing. It was just going sideways, all right? Now, using this simple process, you would have seen the strategy number 4 signal generated. Then you would have clicked on the buy-sell line, chosen the fluid feature, and then you would have seen that it was on the buy-sell line. So you would have had a choice. Once again, this is not a system where you have to take the trades. It's your choice. You're in charge of your trading, but we make it simple for you. And you would have said, well, this is part of that 3-part process Steve was talking about. I think I'll buy the calls, or maybe I'll actually buy the stock. It looks like it's a good investment. And coming into this last couple of weeks in May, you had potentially been able to capture 30 points. So this is how simple this is. Even when news comes out, even though it's not guaranteed, oftentimes our signals are on the right side of the news prior to the announcement coming out. So that's the beauty of these scanners. You'll be able to scan the night before for all these setups and look at the ones that are touching or closest to the buy-sell line. All right, so here's the process. We're going to give you strategy 4, strategy 3A. This is our most consistent pattern method, along with our premier Bollinger Band strategy. We're going to give you all the indicator settings. This includes all the entries, exits, and stops. Remember, both of these strategies you can apply to any market, any time frame, and any direction. This also includes the extra bonuses, okay, the secrets courses and the Secrets 2.0 courses. This also includes a PDF copy of my book and includes 6 months of the platform. We call this our Strategy 2 Pack Discount. Let's break this down. If you purchase these things separately, because we're throwing in so much for you, if you purchase this separately, it would normally cost you close to $7,100. And trust me, I would never charge you $7,100 for all this information coming to see me and then say, okay, well, if you want this information, it's going to cost you over $7,000. I know a lot of websites might do that. I wouldn't do that. In fact, we're discounting this for today only down to less than $300, down to $297. Okay, I can almost guarantee you that most of you who lost that amount of money this past month trading, well, you're going to get all of this for less than $300, $297. You're going to save over $6,800. This is a great opportunity to turn your trading around for the remainder of 2019. Because trust me, a year from today, you will have wished you became a member of these courses. You don't want to be where you are a year from now and say, boy, I think I'll take that package that Steve was talking about, that Strategy 2 pack, and then contact the good people at Pro Trader Strategies and say, well, that's close to $10,000 now. We don't have a discount anymore. So take advantage of it. Do yourself a favor. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. They help me design the platform, and they are in charge of all the tech support as well as all the discounts and pricing. They can work with you. They'd be happy to give you more information on this special package. I would suggest if you have any more questions concerning the actual package or the platform, contact them at 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be more than happy to answer any question you may have, and there's no obligation for purchase. Or you can go to the link on the very bottom of this page. It's not a live link, but it's a link that will take you to more information or the sign-up page. Now, if you want to have a live link, one has been posted in the chat box on the far right-hand corner of the GoToWebinar column. So you can simply click that on. It will take you to the information page. But remember, this is a 24-hour offer. This is a 24-hour, $6,800 discount. Take advantage of this now while you still have the chance, okay? Now, I promised you I would be answering all your questions at the end. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the question and answer box. I promise I'll get to each and every one of them. But remember, one last thing. One thing I didn't mention, and I see a question here, will I be involved in the classes? Well, all of our classes are online classes. They've been recorded and they're made simple. They have different videos to make it simple. There are upwards of, I believe, 13 videos in this special package we have for you. But they're online, and they've all been made with a lot of examples similar to the way I present these weekly webinars. But what they do is they make it simple and go through a step-by-step process, the way I explained it today, so that you can fully understand. And then you have my personal email address. So anytime, any time of the day, during the weekend, you can always email me, and I'll answer your question to the best of my ability, okay? So as I said, I was answering emails prior to this presentation today. So I'm always there to answer anything. I'll be there with you step-by-step and trading right along with you, okay? Let's see, another question. Does this work on futures? Yes, it does. As I said, I mainly trade futures, So if you're a futures trader, an intraday futures trader, yes, I was trading, this past week using the same process. It works extremely well. Sure, you will have losses once again, but that's okay. Consistency is a two-step forward, one-step back process. So don't worry about losses. The main reason traders don't like to concern themselves with a losing technique is because that's just it. It's a technique that continues to lose and lose and lose. But when you have a consistent method and a consistent process, it'll be able to weed out some of those losses. And as well, if you do experience a loss, many times, not guaranteed, but many times you'll be able to recoup that loss very quickly. So that's what consistency means, all right? And then lastly, yes, so this works. People are once again asking different markets. You can apply this to currency pairs, to Bitcoin, to weekly time frame, to daily time frame, intraday time frame, monthly bars. It makes absolutely no difference. And some people are asking about the different data for the scans. Well, we have so much data. We have scans for the DAX exchange. We have the Asian markets. We also have the Toronto exchange. We have Indian markets as well, Indian stock exchange. We have data for that. We have intraday scans if you'd like. So it's just a great way to really fine-tune your trading, but we make it simple. It's so simple. The process of scanning any of these issues probably takes less than a couple of minutes per night. Okay? Okay, great question. So I think that brings us to the end of today's presentation. If there are no more further questions, remember, 2019 is just about half over. If you're really struggling and if your trading is nowhere near you thought it would be at the beginning of the year, you can't afford not to pass up this great offer. For $297, there's over 40 years of information being shared with you. This is a great, great offer. Once again, we're here to educate you. We're not just going to give you this information and throw you to the wolves. So if you want to take advantage, contact Pro Trader Strategies. I would suggest if you have any questions, there's no obligation. Give them a call at area code 310-598-6677. And if you're ready to sign up, you can click on that link in the chat box, or you can simply call them up and pay over the phone, okay? $297, once again, most likely you've had some losing trades that may have been accumulated over $300 this past month. Do yourself a favor, come on board. I would be more than happy to be your mentor, okay? As we conclude this presentation, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking time out of your Wednesday. And as you look at our disclaimer one last time, I really hope you got something out of this. I hope you saw our attention to detail and how much we really want to educate you. But more importantly, I really look forward and hope that you become students of mine in this special strategy course option that we're offering today, okay? Thank you so much for attending. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.